One of the hardest things, I believe, as a reality shifter or even a manifester is letting it happen. You see, it is so easy to fall back into the old patterns, the old paradigms, the mindset that got you stuck in the first place. Because most of the time, people who are trying to optimize their reality are doing so from a position of awareness that they are improving something. And I don't know of anybody on the reality shifting or manifesting journey that is completely unconscious and unaware. You see, it takes a certain dedication to min-max, for video game terms, to min-max your reality, to understand that there is something interestingly unique and accurate about the metaphysical principles, but maybe not all of them, but some of them. And it's intriguing, right? We can build and shift into our own worlds. We can upgrade our entire experience by using some pretty wild techniques. NLP, affirmations, visualizations, meditations, hypnosis, subliminals, and the list goes on. And so what we understand is that there's something about our electromagnetic field. There's something about our default settings, our hardware, our software, whatever words and concepts resonate with you. It's real. And when we realize that it's real, it creates this amazing opportunity to see where the boundary is, to understand how far we can push. There are so many books about opening up the superhuman abilities of humanity, and so many meditations that change your brain waves, that allow you to actually shift into a vibration. And so now we're from the point of awareness with this knowledge to understand that we can optimize and improve. But this is where the work really deepens. I was going to say begins, but that's not true. It's actually a point of deepening, because then we have to reflect backwards and understand what it is we need to change, how we need to change, because it's not a matter of just visualizing and letting it come true. Although, depending on your level of work that you've already done, your road could be more akin to that. There are some people that are very, very heavy in the shadow patterns, and they have to work through a lot. But if you've already done a lot of personal work or came out of the womb pretty much perfect, there are some of you out there. We all hate you. The rest of us hate you, but it's just kidding. So then the process is a little bit different, because then it's a matter of taking what you already have and tweaking it just a little bit. That still takes some reflection, and that's an internal process. And what happens is we get caught in our baseline. It reminds me of driving a car and how back in the day you had to really, really pay attention, especially when you were first learning, and assuming that you've learned how to drive. Not everybody has, but the principle still applies for other motor activities. So at first you're clutching the steering wheel and you're sweating, maybe, you're nervous, you're looking at all the mirrors, you're trying to remember, okay, the first I do this, and then I do that, and then and you're clumsy, and it's this whole process that over time, fast forward decades into the future, you could be turning the music on or off or changing it, adding your favorite playlist, while also trying to record a voice message or talk to somebody or text with somebody, while also talking to somebody in the car and driving. And so fundamentally, these programs that we set as our default, they are like our ability to drive a car after a period of time. We can do it halfway asleep. I'm not advocating anybody do that, by the way. You should always be safe when you're driving, but it's an example. And as a result, we can slip back into the old realities and paradigms if we are not careful. I have, in my past, just a little personal story, I have really struggled with reciprocity. And because I have tended to be a giver, and it's hard for me to receive. Although in the past, I was kind of enmeshed in codependent relationships. And so I would have my needs met, but it would be by somebody else. And I wasn't a good advocate of my own needs. And it was kind of this toxic dynamic, even though it was on the surface, it was fine, right? A lot was unspoken. There were a lot of expectations, and it created friction points. And it was not an advantageous way to build relationships. It's not how I do it anymore. And I actually work with people to break these patterns. And as a result, I realized that I wanted to create a different life for myself. I wanted to be taken care of in a way that was genuine, in a way where I wasn't controlling it subconsciously or overtly, where it was coming from a place of just almost like a resonance of wanting to be there. And I have finally gotten there, and it's been beautiful, actually, because just random people or people that I barely know have just been so kind and generous and giving in so many ways. And it has blown me away, actually. But what I find myself struggling with is allowing it to happen. And there's still a part of me that wants to resist it. There's still a part of me that wants to block it and say, no, I'm okay. No. And I had a couple of examples today, and I was given to by several people, actually, just in their own way. And just a bit kindness, the woman who helps me with my house stayed an extra hour out of generosity and kindness and service, and she did it in a very, very loving, kind way, and also gave me some tea, some herbal tea, and then somebody else gave to me. And anyway, so I have had a very, very abundant day, is the point. And I've had to observe myself in the process of receiving, and I still have a little bit of a challenging time vibrationally. I've caught myself now, but there's still a little bit of emotional, vibrational ricochet in my auric field, and I self-correct, and I'm intentional about receiving, but I know that I need to fine-tune it a little bit. And this is where the fun part of the self-mastery journey comes in, because just because you master the mindset and just because you master the behavior doesn't mean you're mastering the energetics. And the energetics and the subconscious behavior patterns matter. They really do, because they put it out into the reality space around you. And when you are working with other conscious beings, they can feel it. There's this whole other layer of information, of social behavior that we all feel. You feel, they feel. We don't always talk about it, but it's like reading somebody's body language, except you're reading their energy. And so this is where I am practicing and taking it a step further and allowing the reality to morph without so much energetic resistance. And the resistance comes from, it's safe to be in the known. It's safe to know how to drive your car. If you were given, let's say, a flying car and told that you had to take that to work tomorrow, you'd kind of freak out inside a little bit, unless it was like a self-driving one, and then you might still freak out inside, depending on how anxious of a person you are. And even though it would be cool, and even though you would want to, and it would be exciting, it would probably remind you of the first couple of times that you drove on your own. And it would be a little frightening, a little intense. And this is the beauty of stepping into the unknown, but you might have some negative recoil reactions underneath the surface if you're particularly stressed or if there's a lot of traffic. It might not just be a fully enjoyable experience. For some of you it would, but for others it wouldn't. And so as this reality that you're manifesting starts to come in, depending on your resistance, and resistance can be very, very subtle, and it can also be automatic. It can just be a knee-jerk, nope, like that. I know some people that are no people, that if you invite them to do something out of their comfort zone, they don't even think about it. They're just like, no, sorry. No, I'm not interested. I'm busy. And it's a pattern, right, that they are sometimes unaware of. And then there are yes people that sign up for everything and then regret it sometimes. I'm one of those. I tend to say yes. Oh yeah, that's great. Oh yeah. And then I don't think about that. And then later I'm like, what did I get myself into? And so it can be an experience because you have to push yourself. If you're not pushing yourself, you're not actually in the unknown. And if you're really trying to optimize a different reality and to pull in a manifestation, depending on your starting point and how big that gap is, how far you want to go, you might have to change a lot. You might have to change how you show up in the world, how you interact in the environment, how you walk into a room, how you speak, how you dress. It's this whole thing. And as a result, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not changing. And identifying all of the ways that you are unconsciously driving your avatar into reality. Like, I've been paying attention to my posture lately. And, when I'm tired, it's still slouchy. And I'm like, okay, I gotta fine tune this and tighten this up. And so these small little things make a difference, because how you show up in reality affects how other people and opportunities are attracted to you. I did this practice recently, a couple days ago, where I was walking by this building that I really, really love. And it's a hotel, and it just has this beautiful energy. And I don't know what it is, but it reminds me of a lifestyle that I'm going towards, but at the moment is a little unobtainable. And so I was practicing actually trying to attract the hotel to me as I was walking by. Not anybody in particular, but actually the energy of the hotel, and bringing that into my auric field. And what I noticed is that my walk changed. and how I carried myself changed. And what was fascinating is that as I was passing, the valet people who I pass often and say hello to, one of them actually, who I hadn't really gotten to know or really speak to, actually came out to the sidewalk to have a conversation. And I thought afterwards, as I was walking off, it completely worked. But I had to shift my energy to actually draw in a compatible frequency. And so this is what I mean by these levels of subtlety, these relentless is what I want to say, this relentless dedication to the path and to the journey in everyday practices. Just when you're thinking like, oh, I'm walking and I'm going to go here, or I'm driving and I'm going to go there, it's an opportunity to let it happen, to let the reality in, to practice stepping into your higher self. And so often I believe that we compartmentalize these practices and we sit down and we say, okay, I'm going to meditate, or okay, I'm going to visualize, or I'm going to manifest, or whatever it is, right? But even the most mundane, simple moments, like standing in line at Panera, I just had a vision. I don't know if somebody goes there. I haven't been there in a very long time. Standing in line at your favorite lunch place, and you're in just a silent moment. Nobody's really paying attention to you. You're just like idling, right? That's a moment that you can actually incorporate your energy, your essence of embodiment in that moment and practice it. It's a great time, actually. And see if it has an effect for you. And when we let reality change in front of our eyes, what happens is that it's almost like this accelerant or this boost. And when we see the results of it, it helps to really solidify the mindset shift that we have. So for me, I had this experience where I wasn't really happy with the relationships that I was building. And I was attracting people that either it wasn't reciprocal, so I was attracting takers, or I was attracting people that would give, but the way they would give would be subconsciously enmeshed in codependency, because that's what I was doing. And so then I went through a period of time where I stopped attracting anybody. And then I slowly opened up my orbit again after I sort of rebuilt myself and my mind maps. But there was this really long period of time where I was thinking, it's not working right. It's not working. Because I started attracting people that were stealing from me. I'm like, I'm going in the wrong direction. Like, how did that happen? How did I become more conscious and then attract people that are actually treating me worse than my like baseline expectations? So, but one of my lessons that I'm still working on finishing is discernment. So that makes sense. But when I was going through this process, what I observed is that I had a lot of old mind maps and mindset issues that I was carrying the past with me, and I was rebuffing people who were wanting to give to me. So I was keeping those people out and preferentially attracting and maintaining the people that who were stealing from me or trying to take advantage of me. You know, like, hey, by the way, I am a shadow patterns coach because I have personally lived these lessons. And I love to talk about my foibles and mistakes because we all experience this on the human journey to some degree. Some of you are way better off than me, but we all have are lessons that we have to master. And as a result, it gives us wisdom. It gives us kernels of applicable wisdom, not just reading in a textbook, although that's fun too, if you're into that. So when you let reality happen, you let the changes come to you and you embrace them and you push yourself outside of the comfort zone and practice even when you think it's not a time to practice.